And welcome back to Responsibly Armed Citizen Show. I am your host, Frank Horvath. Today, we're missing Tim. Tim is doing fun Tim things. So today in studio, we have some special guests. With me is one of our instructors, Derek Wright. Derek, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Fantastic. And we also have another guest, Moose Horvath. He was a student in one of Derek's most recent classes, so he's going to come talk with us a little bit about how his time at Apache was and kind of go from there. Moose, how are you doing today?
Very good, very good. Thank you for having me.
So, gentlemen, before we get any further, how were your weekends? How was your past week? How did everything go?
Oh, you want? All right. I'll tell you, it was a long week. Like Wednesday, I thought it was Thursday, and I was kicking myself when it wasn't.
Yeah, I hear you. Big time. Moose, what about you?
Oh man, I'm having an incredible week. I'm getting to play with the grandbabies, and this is my vacation time. So I'm really having a blast.
Cool. So, Derek, again, one of the reasons why we ended up bringing Derek on the show today is he had a successful concealed carry class that went off. That was your first one that you've taught, right?
That was the first, yeah.
Awesome. And so we figured, hey, Derek is, a fledgling instructor, so we really want to, pick his brain a little bit about, his who he is and the reasons why he wanted to pursue training. He's been training up there at Apache as a student for quite some time now, and then really starting to pursue that instructorship, wanting to really get after it, and doing some awesome stuff. So we figured, hey, let's go ahead and bring him in and talk to him a little bit, and just kind of delve into this. And at the same time, we were like, hey, Moose, you just took this class, this concealed carry class from Derek, again, his first ever. So we wanted to. Good, bad, and ugly. Get some good feedback live on air for Derek, so that we can, talk about it and kind of go from there. So, first, let's learn a little bit more about you, Derek. Who is Derek Wright?
That is a loaded question. Growing up, I always wanted a career around the firearms industry. That was something that I always thought was going to be a constant in my life. And starting out, I thought it was going to be military. That didn't work out. So I changed over to law enforcement. I was going to do law enforcement. That didn't work out. And then I ran into a gun store one day, found an Apache business card, decided to make a call, came out, did a few one-on-ones, and totally fell in love with it.
Like a bad rash, you never went away.
Yep, for sure. Ended up being one of the best things I ever did.
Yeah, cool. So let's so we know how, like I said, how you found Apache early. Talk a little bit about your instructor journey. Where did that start? Where did that start to grow? Who were some pretty big I guess peers in the group? Tim. Okay. let's dive into that a little bit. So who, what, when, why?
It was really the first couple of one-on-ones. My very first one was with Tim, and it was great. He was talking about doing, trying to help out. He had a student that I guess was in a domestic situation, mm-hmm. and he was really trying to help her, and I was like, man, that's really wholesome that he's willing to go through the struggle and stress of trying to do whatever he could for that student. Mm-hmm. And then the next two, I was with a Landon Nelson, mm-hmm. and seeing the dynamic of how Tim and Landon work together, like I knew that was something I wanted to be a part of, and mm-hmm. so I pestered the crap out of Tim until he finally put together a NRA basic pistol instructor class, mm-hmm. and really encouraged me to take it, and that's where I started. Mm-hmm. That's once I did that, I started coming out to every concealed carry class, every basic pistol class, and yeah.
So let me ask you this. So that NRA basic pistol instructor course, mm-hmm. At the end of that course, were you absolutely ready? Were you ready to go out there and teach and do everything you needed to do?
But if I thought I was, it was a delusion.
Okay.
Because no, No. It doesn't quite prepare you for really putting on the shoes just yet.
Okay. Well, out of that, from that course, what was missing?
Well, obviously there's the confidence aspect that you can't really teach, but really, I would say the diagnostics.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, the NRA puts together a fantastic course as far as introduction to, and the instructor program. But that's really what it is. It's an introduction. There's a lot of pieces that are missing from that introduction as far as how to properly run our line, how to properly diagnose what's going on with a particular student. You can kind of fake it till you make it. I've seen a lot of instructors do that. But the problem with that is it's always at the cost of the student, right? The student isn't getting the most benefit out of out of that learning environment. So with that, the again with the NRA thing, again, and I'm not saying there are plenty of NRA instructors that are out there that are phenomenal, but almost all of them have gotten further education, right? They're not just took that one basic pistol instructor course and then stopped. Like there's always something else that's there. But with that, like I said, with that course, the biggest pieces that are missing is again how to run a line, like the confidence piece, the diagnostics piece. There's a lot of really good book knowledge that's in the NRA, right? There's a lot of really good just how to present type things, and they give you exercises on how to present. But as far as brass tacks, actually showing people, diagnosing what's going on with somebody, as far as their shooting ability, it's just not, or marksmanship ability, I should say,
Right.
it's just not there. And again, it's not really skewed the same. What are some other courses and stuff like that you've taken that have helped your journey as far as instructor?
Well, I've taken the Apache instructor enrichment course twice. I took the Alpha and the one we just had, and that I think was a catalyst. Really crunched in a lot of info into a short period of time, but I think that was probably my biggest growth period.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would agree. So after teaching that class, it was very shortly after that is when you said, all right, yep, I'm ready to teach this class. Let's do this. And I was like, all right, yeah, giddy up. Like, because I know for the past, it been a year or so, I've been like, any portion of the class you want to teach, because you had the certification from the Department of Justice, you could legally teach it on your own. But I think there was just a confidence piece, right? You were just, you're almost there, but not quite. There's a little bit of nerves and some other things that it happens to everybody, right? It really does. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about our next segment. We're going to dive into a little bit about that class. We're going to bring Moose in and talk a little bit with him about that. But so at that IEP class, what was the one specific thing that gave you that confidence to be able to say, yeah, I'm ready for this. Let me go ahead and teach this class.
I'd say it had to do with I believe it was Chris Bean. Pulled me aside and he basically said that you start to, once you realize that you are the least important person, it all starts to fall together. That everything you're doing is for the student, not you. It doesn't matter about you.
Yeah.
And that changed my whole perspective.
Dude, that is wisdom right there, right? So and that's our goal, right? We want to do everything for the student. We really don't want to focus in on ourselves. That's great. Tell you what, let's take a quick break, and then after a break, let's come back and talk a little bit about the class you taught. and welcome back. Welcome back to the Responsible Armed Citizen Show. I am one of your hosts for the day, Frank Horvath. Joined with me in studio is Derek Wright and Moose Horvath. Derek is an instructor with Apache Solutions. Had his first concealed carry class solo that went this past week, and it was absolutely fantastic. Moose was one of the students that was in that class, so he's going to come and give us a little bit of feedback. Last segment, we dove in a little bit into who Derek was. Now let's get into the class. All right, so fun times. We had a good time together. So Derek, how did your concealed carry class go?
I couldn't tell you what the general consensus was.
What was your input? How did you feel the class went?
For a concealed carry class, especially for some of the ones that I've been in, I think it was okay.
It was okay.
It was all right.
I think it was more than okay. I think you did a very good job. The hardest thing, and again, talk to any other instructor that's out there. If somebody tells you that they've all been roses, they're liars, right? There's that first class, that first time you've ever stepped out, because there's a little bit of vulnerability there, right? Because you're like, do I really know this? It almost feels like imposter syndrome, But once you get up there and you start talking and you start to relax a little bit, it starts to flow a little bit easier. Full disclosure, I was at that class. I helped out a little bit, and I noticed, so when you first started a class, you're super nervous. And you could tell, right, Moose? Could you tell?
Absolutely.
You could absolutely tell, yeah. And then again, we didn't tell the other people, participants in the class, whether that this was Derek's first class, right? You don't want to cut them down like that. But as the class went on, right, after a little bit of time, Derek finally started to relax. And when he finally started to relax, that's when things started picking up a little bit regularly for him. At what point do you feel like, yeah, I got this. This is 100% me?
I don't think I ever did. When we finally got out on the range and did the shooting portion, I really felt more in my element, in my comfort zone, and I feel like that definitely went a whole lot better. The whole class went better in my head the day before the class.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, reciting that over and over again. As far as like prep work, what kind of prep work do you do for like a class like that? Is there, you said you recited that over and over in your head. Is there, going back over materials? Is there anything that you do that's unique to you that you do as far as getting ready for a class, or?
I don't know that it's unique, but I do have a big mirror in my bedroom, and I usually stand in front of that and try to visualize. And I'll have a laptop set up, and I'll be flipping through the PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one of the things that I end up using is my kids. So I know that I have a 7-year-old daughter. I know that if I can explain it clearly to my 7-year-old daughter, then I got it. Like I know that I'm 100%, I'm locked in, no problems. But if she's not getting it, that's when I'm like, no, is it above your head, or am I not explaining this well enough?
I like that.
So that works out really well for me. But yeah, a lot of the same things, like I said, going back and forth. Trying to prep, trying to get classes, stuff like that. So Moose, from a student perspective, how do you think Derek did?
Oh, he did great. Absolutely. I've been to, I don't know, 4 or 5 CC age classes. I go back to them, and I know now. I now know that Apache, once you go through a CCH with Apache, you can always go back and audit the class, right, and get that information. I didn't know that before, but I like to keep on top because the laws are changing, things are changing all the time, and the class was entertaining, it was fun, it was informational, and all the stuff that I needed to keep on top was there. And that's what it's all about. So yeah, it was a very, very good class. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and
Thank you, man.
That's one of the big misnomers I think just in our area about concealed carry is people go, oh, okay, I want to get a gun, I want to defend my home, so I need to go take a concealed carry class. That's not the first step. right? And a lot of people make that mistake, and they go, "That is the first step. That's the first thing I need to do. I need to go, go to the store. I need to buy a gun, and then I need to rush over and take a concealed carry class, and I'll be squared away, ready to go." And that's the farthest thing from the truth.
Absolutely.
What ends up happening, and again, we get a lot of that. But the purpose of concealed carry classes is to teach the laws governing deadly force.
Yep.
And, that, trying to get that point across and trying to explain that and still keep people engaged in a class, it's sometimes a pretty big struggle. But, so this past class that you taught, everybody seemed pretty engaged. Nobody failed the class. In our classes, people actually fail.
Sometimes.
Because our standard. Let's talk about that a little bit. So, what are some things in the Apache concealed carry classes that are different than other concealed carry classes?
Well, the biggest one, probably the most obvious one, is the target that we use. The state requirement, minimum standard is a 2 foot by 3 foot silhouette. And we use a 7-inch by 11-inch thoracic cavity.
Why?
Well, because that is the most efficient way to stop a threat.
Yep. To stop a threat. Yeah, absolutely. So that that's one big change. Everything else is pretty bog standard as far as the distances and things like that. I think the other thing that is a little bit different is we really break down a handful of incidences, right? To where, okay, viewing it from the lens of North Carolina law, were these incidences justified or not on behalf of the person who is stopping that threat? So we look at a handful of those, and we determine as a class, were these justified or were these not justified? Why were these? Does it check off the 4 check boxes in North Carolina law as far as it being a justified use of deadly force?
Right.
And then we also dive into the escalation of force. We look at some examples of that, disparity of force. So there's a lot of things in there that a lot of people just don't consider, especially when it starts getting into that. There's another big difference, has to do with caliber of the firearm.
Yes.
So what is that?
I believe we don't let anyone take the course using anything less than caliber. Starts with a 3, right? So 380 and up, more or less.
Why?
Because below that you're looking at rim fire, and we know that to be extremely unreliable.
Yeah.
And ineffective.
So
more or less.
And that's that's always a big debate, right? So we hear this often. There's been plenty of people who have had incidences with a 22 and 17 HMR who are not here today because of it, right? So it's not that it's not deadly. The problem is it's just not reliable, right? How many of us have gone out with a little 22 and gone plinking or something like that, or getting at squirrels or whatever it may be, and then you press that trigger and dunk. Nothing. And you got to cycle it again. For our courses, it is so frustrating trying to manage, rim fire on the line. If you have a student that brings a gun that's just clunk, 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 right? It's not working right, or have faulty ammunition or something like that. So we get a lot of pushback. On, I don't want to say a lot, we get some pushback on why can't I shoot 22? Why can't I bring a 22? Well, what we have observed in the past and what we have gotten away from is, in the class we'll have somebody toting, talk about, oh, well, I'm carrying a 44 mag, but when they come out to do the qualification, they're bringing a little 22 with a bull barrel, so they can punch out one ragged hole. But when you watch them with this 44 mag, they're all over the target.
Right.
And so, we really did that to help mitigate and help, change and pull that back. Moose, from your perspective, how did the class overall go for you? What were some things that you liked? What were some things you didn't like? Was there anything in that class that you changed?
No, I can't think of anything I would change. Things I liked. Well, the class was very engaging from beginning to end. Even in the beginning where you were where Frank shared that you were, maybe less hesitant or a little hesitant or just trying to get comfortable, get in your comfort zone. It still was engaging. What I really, really liked is I brought a gun that was way too small for my hand. And one of the instructors there found something that was a better fit for me. And you shared with that, you don't have to bring something with you. You could actually come empty-handed, and the instructors will help you get that. And that means a lot because, we all don't know what's the best thing for us walking into a class like that.
Yeah, that's definitely, especially when we do like private training and stuff like that, we really encourage people, look, don't rush out and buy a gun.
Yep.
Take your time. Let's find what fits best for you. Don't rush into it because it's an investment, right? It's something that you don't want to spend waste your money on. And more often than not, again, the just nature of the concealed carry classes, people will go out and buy whatever the clerk behind the counter tells them to go buy, and then they rush out to the class and kind of go from there. And it causes a little bit of stress when we tell them, hey, look, this gun's not a good fit for you for whatever reason. Yeah, absolutely. That's great things to consider. And in that class, we also in that particular scenario, it just happened to work out. But and often in those classes, it depends. It depends on what the student brings. Depends on the attitude. And I think attitude's probably the biggest piece of that. If a student comes in and they have a positive attitude, and then the class goes well. If not, then the class doesn't go well.
Oh yeah, for sure. That can definitely crush the entire atmosphere right there.
Yeah, and thankfully for the most part, we don't have very many issues with that. People seem to be pretty positive, whether they're just positive people themselves, or we kind of start putting the screws to them and cranking on them in the class. But that's all fun things. That's all stuff that's to come. We're going to take a quick break, and then right after the break, we'll be right back with Derek and Moose. And welcome back to the Responsibly Armed Citizen Show. We're continuing our conversation with Moose and Derek about the concealed carry class that we had this past week. So we're going to continue this conversation a little bit with Moose, starting off with Moose. Moose, what is the most what was the most, I don't want to say important, what was the most maybe shocking, or what was that piece of information that you learned over the class that you didn't realize was true or not?
Okay, some of the law updates, I carry in church, I carry, in different places, and some of the law updates definitely, are eye-opening, and especially with the penalties that come along with them if you don't do it correctly.
Yep.
That was definitely eye-opening for me.
Yeah, the laws regarding it's now a Class H felony, right, for carrying in a place that has that concealed carry sign that's posted. It's a potential fine, potential charge. That's new. That was new as of January 1 of this year of 2023, and that's the thing. There's so many laws and things like that out there that change every single year, or not, I don't want to say necessarily every year, but every other year, every 3 years or so. Like, there is an update, and a lot of people are still going off of what they knew 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and that potentially could get you in some hot water. Was there anything else that really kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah, and knew about the castle law,
Castle Doctrine.
Castle Doctrine, but some of the first classes I come to is drag them back inside and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, no, don't do that.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, if you end up stopping a threat, leave. Don't disturb the crime scene. Just leave it as is. That's what it is. It's a crime scene, and until you're cleared.
Right.
But absolutely, the Castle Doctrine's a big piece of that, and making sure that you have those protections in your home, workplace, and motor vehicle. Yeah, cool. So the overall flow and the feel of the class went well for you. Weren't any big major sticking points. Derek, was there anything in the class that you wish you could do differently? Could have done differently?
Definitely walk in with a little more confidence. That would be a different starter.
Start the day?
Yeah.
Just start your day like 2 hours earlier, and then by
real.
the time the class starts, you'll be ready to rock.
I need like a whole pot of coffee before I go in there. I'll be good to go.
Yeah, just have a couple more monsters, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a definite benefit to not walking in with and that's one of the things I did appreciate about the class. You did not walk in there like you were being cocky or I know this and you're stupid and you need to know this, that kind of thing. It's nice. You were down on a human level, as person to person. Hey, this is what you need to know in order to do this correctly and safely. And that's you appreciate that as a student, because often you run into instructors that know the content so well that they kind of act like, well, you're stupid for not knowing it.
Oh yeah, that arrogance, that ego. Yeah, I've that's been a struggle in the past for sure. But that's definitely something I try to, check at the door, is set that aside. And like I said before, Chris Bean, when you realize you're the least important person in the room, what you're doing is you're doing it for a purpose. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. One of my favorite things to do, just aside from just training myself, is I really enjoy going and participating in other instructors' teaching. Right. So I love being, we'll call it that raven. I love sitting in the back of the class, watching, observing, just kind of feeling the room, feeling it out. Not just for our own guys, right? So our own guys, I can give you constructive criticism. I go back to you and say, hey man, you did this good. Yeah, struck out on this. This didn't go so well. Do this next time, or make recommendations. So we can kind of go back and forth, and that's how we build each other up. And we do that, both in class and out of class, right? We're doing other presentations and stuff like that. But what I really get a kick out of is going, and I will pay to go take other concealed carry instructors classes. They don't know me from Adam. They have no idea that I'm also a concealed carry instructor, here for the state of North Carolina. But when I go and sit on those classes, there's a number of them who will literally sit down with a red book, open that red book up, and just start reading. And the red book, if you don't know, is just full of legalese, right? It's definitions. It's the literally the statutes, laws governing deadly force, that's there, just all very clearly, and it is mind numbing. It is not fun. So in our class we really try to break away from that legalese a little bit, still cover what's important, but go, all right, here's what this means in plain old English, and go from there. And then I've taken other classes from other concealed carry instructors that I've literally left because of that ego, right? So you walk in and you spend 3 hours talking about how cool they are because they were underwater scout, sniper, whatever. And then from there, it was just bragging about themselves, and they get out on the range and they don't have a safety brief, or they miss like the most important pieces of the law. And that's one of the things where it's really one of those things. It's a struggle, because you want to step in, you want to go, okay, I can't. It's not my class. I don't want to be a jerk, and step on any toes or anything like that. And there have been a handful of classes I have just up and left, because of safety infractions, because there's been concerns or something like that. And of course, I'll I do it in a professional way. I'll go up, after at a break or after class, and be like, hey man, I did not feel safe with this particular action that you did, or this particular thing that you did, or whatever it may be. And sometimes they respond, oh, I didn't even realize I did that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. And other times they're like, quit, don't be a baby, right? Put your big boy bridges on. We got big boy rules here. I'm like, yeah, no, let's not do that. So, talking about that. So, Moose, did you feel safe at Derek's class?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. From the moment we got in there, even with the demonstration plastic pistols.
Mm-hmm. Like the dummy guns?
The dummy guns, yeah. Even the handling of them was pointed and told us why from the get-go. This is why you put your fingers here. This is why you hold it like that. So somebody walking into the class that never touched a gun before could walk away with a comfort of knowing, oh, this is why you do this, and that's why, and oh, that's why they do this on TV. It's it's funny but not funny, and things like that. And actually, some of the videos you shared where people made the mistake of putting their finger in the wrong place, and how it can not turn out to be a great decision.
Right. Yeah. There are some long-term consequences for having a negligent discharge. That's definitely something that Derek hit in the class. What about the actual range time? So once you got down onto the range, did Derek do a safety brief? Did he go over like any sort of like preparatory stuff? Did he have any kind of plans? Or was it just kind of like, all right, big boy rules? How did he handle that?
Oh no, yeah, we all gathered. We sat in chairs, took a moment, took a deep breath, and then learned. Okay, this is what you do, and we each were given responsibilities. Okay, you're going to go do this. You're going to go that. If there's a problem, this is how we need to react as a family, as a team.
Cool.
And who's doing what.
So he laid everything out as far as like what to do, how to do it, like how they're going to respond to an emergency.
Absolutely. Yeah. Medical concerns. Here's a medical kit. Here's who calls 911 if we need 911. Who's going to go to make sure that 911 finds exactly who and where. Yeah, it was good.
What about the handling of the guns down on the range? How was that? How did that work out? So was it just everyone just ran into bags, or was it were there tables? Like how did he organize that?
Yeah, we were all instructed very clearly to put our guns a certain way, each on a table, which we each handled our guns individually, one at a time. So we're not, and with an instructor standing there making sure that we did not do anything negligent, and from that point on, even when somebody was not making a great choice, the instructors were there immediately. Hey, this is what you need to do, and this is why you need to do this.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I can say that Derek and the team do really well is if you're starting to make a mistake, right? If you look like you're about to put your finger in the wrong place or handle the fireman properly, they're on you like white on rice. Like they're right there, right then and there. Not in a second. Oh, they're okay. It's stop.
Yeah.
This is you're making a poor decision in life, and you're going to not make this poor decision anymore.
Yeah, there was no rudeness. It was very direct and clear. Multiple times I moved my finger from not at the correct place above the trigger guard. And it was made very clear, hey, this is what you need to do and how you need to do it.
And a lot of that is what habit, right? So,
Yes, it's developing.
yeah, so you're coming to a class. There's a certain way that we expect you to do that, and if you haven't been doing this, we're not trying to be ugly. We're not trying to be mean. It's for our safety and your safety. This is what we want you to do and how we want you to do it. And we go along from there. So you got chastised. You got chastised for putting your finger on the trigger. It sounds like.
No, I didn't put my finger on the trigger, but I didn't put my finger. There is a clear instruction of where you need to hold your pointer finger, your trigger finger, so that you can see. The instructor can clearly see where your finger is, and sometimes I allowed my finger to be down,
Dip down a little bit.
dip down a little bit, so you couldn't clearly see where my finger was, and
I could hear it now. Finger straight off the trigger.
yes, yes,
Cool, very cool.
and I wasn't the only one. Obviously,
Right.
we were all developing new habits.
Right. That's cool. So, is there anything else? Is there anything else that again, this is your time. Is there anything else that Derek can do better? Is there anything else that any gleaming moments from the class that really worked? That were like aha, like all those aha moments. Was there?
No, I really enjoyed the class, and like I said, I've had a bunch of different classes. It was not my first class even at Apache. I took a shotgun class and things like that. So
Yeah, very cool.
yeah.
Derek, what about you? Any last comments about the class?
No, I'm ready to giddy up and get after it again.
Yeah, that's going to be great. It's my understanding you're going to be really some dates are going to be released for concealed carry classes in 2024. I'm excited, and we'll see what Derek has to offer for those upcoming classes. You're listening to the Responsibly Armed Citizen Show. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about our competency of the month. Stay tuned. And welcome back to the Responsible Urban Citizen Show. We have been joined in studio by Derek Wright and Moose Horvath, talking about Derek's concealed carry class, his successful concealed carry class, and it sounds like it went off without a hitch. Everything worked out relatively well. Again, congratulations, Derek. I know that was kind of a big moment for you. I'm glad that happened, and here's to many more in the future.
Thank you.
Moose, appreciate you, like you said, coming and giving us your feedback on the class. I'm glad that was a safe and a learned environment where you got to explore that a little bit and learn a little bit more about concealed carry. So, segment 4, our last piece. What we do is we talk about our CompC of the month. Our CompC of the month this month is to discuss cold weather and concealed carry. So a little bit of background as far as our CompC of the month. Our CompCs of the month were originally designed as an in-house tool. We use these to say, hey, we're going to talk about this particular topic for this month, and so that we can, each hold each other accountable, each, talk about a little bit about, whatever the topic is, and we can bounce ideas off of each other regarding the topic. And it was a way of almost like fighting dogma in our ranks, right? It's fighting dogma as part of the cadre. Something that Apache, we're really proud of is you're not going to find dogma there. Everybody has a completely different background. We have guys that are either current or previous law enforcement guys who are either current or ex-military. We have good old-fashioned civilians such as myself and Derek here. But we really want to make it so that we're not all, hook, line, and, sinker, following the same step. We all have common goals. We all have different ways of accomplishing these common goals. And it's because of that, because we have such a diverse group of instructors, and we're not all hooked into, like I said, dogma, that we can find the perfect person, the perfect instructor for you as a responsibly armed citizen to help further your training. If one person's personality or the way they go about things isn't exactly driving with you for whatever reason, we have other instructors that will. All of our instructors have been vetted, and it's this process here of going through these CompCs a month that help us do that on an ongoing, regular basis. So, our CompC of the month this month, for the month of December, is to discuss cold weather and concealed carry. Tim and I have had a couple conversations about this, going back and forth. But let's kick it over to you guys. What are some considerations when it comes to concealed carry and cold weather?
Well, obviously, that cold outside. A lot of people bundle up. All those extra layers can be very constricting.
Mm-hmm.
When I lived in Pennsylvania for a while, I worked construction. Sometimes it's negative 20 degrees, and even working construction, having to move around, it was very difficult to do. And so imagine getting to your firearm should you need to under all those bundles of clothing. And there's if you wanted to spend the money, there's jackets out there that detach in certain places in order to get a hold of that, but my go-to, honestly, is whatever jacket I happen to be wearing is my outer layer. Everything else gets tucked in behind the gun, so that I only have that one layer that I got to move out of the way.
So that's easy for us, and Tim, correct me, I think one of our other shows, that's easy for us down here in the South to do that, right? Because we don't have harsh winters. Up north, like what Dan Brady was talking about, up in Vermont, you're wearing huge, big, puffy layers. It's stupid cold up there.
It gets brutal.
And you can't tuck all those layers behind, your concealed carry. So you have to think of, other alternatives. Some of those smart alternatives may be, having a pocket carry, right? Having a gun inside of a quality holster that is inside your pocket that you can then use, God forbid you had to stop a threat or of some sort, but that you could safely use and get at it. There are a number of, if you look over the years, there's a number of modifications, things like that people did, especially up north, up and around New York, Maine, Vermont, etc., that allowed more readily access to their firearms, to the revolvers specifically, that allow them to manipulate and gain access quicker to those revolvers, especially in cold weather, right? Cold winters. So there's a lot of really good information that's there about that. What are some other considerations? What are some other things?
Gloves.
Okay,
Yeah.
gloves. What about gloves?
Well, having the wherewithal to practice taking them on and off if they're big puffy gloves or something like that, or you were mentioning work gloves. Some of the, you know, if you're wearing welding gloves, getting them off your hands in a controlled way.
Yeah, just practice, right? Yeah, gloves are absolutely a consideration. Can you even can you operate a firearm safely with a glove on? If you can't, how are you going to go about, shedding that glove or whatever it may be? Something else that I think a lot of people don't realize is, how their body reacts in cold, right? So it's very easy to go, oh, I'll be fine. But when your digits are cold and your hands don't move the way that you expect them, maybe you should go out and let your hands get cold and go feel that out, like literally feel how that feels. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoy training in the cold. For in our industry, people don't like getting out in the cold. It just
I don't either.
Yeah, you don't either. Yeah,
It's awful.
I don't mind it that much. I don't like the bone chilling cold. Know what I mean? Where you uncontrollable shaking. But if it's just cool outside like it is today, I have no issues at all. Just I'll throw a hoodie on and go rodeo. But go get to the point where your hands are cold, right? And go feel, how is your dexterity? How can you still safely get to things? Can you still safely access your firearm? Can you still move around? Can you still do things? These are all considerations that, people just don't consider when doing concealed carry. There's one that I want to bring up. I actually noticed this on the range a couple weeks ago. What about the considerations of the actual garment yourself? So, wearing big puffy jackets, things like that, all right, that's okay. But I had a student that I was helping them with. We were dry, right? So there's no ammunition inside the firearm, no ammunition around. We were practicing their draw stroke with this new jacket that they had on. And this jacket had like these ridges that were on the inside of the jacket, and they got caught on the grip of their firearm when they went to draw their garment back. So they grabbed a hold of their garment, they pulled their garment up where they needed to pull it up so they could gain access to their firearm, and they caught on the buttstock of the gun, and it came up and out of the holster, fell on the ground. So what if that was in an uncontrolled environment? What if you just went and purchased a holster, purchased a firearm, threw this big puffy jacket on, and God forbid you had a self-defense incident where you needed to stop a threat, right? You just tried to, hypothetically drew your gun and threw it at the bad guy so the bad guy can, now have possession, or you no longer have possession of that firearm. It's a scary thought, right? But that if the safest place that could have happened was in a controlled environment on the range, which in this particular instance it did. So we were able to identify, hey, this jacket's not a good jacket for the way that you're carrying, or this particular piece of gear, this particular holster, it needs adjustment, or it's not a good fit for you, for your body shape, or whatever it may be. Right? These are all things that people just don't consider when it gets cold.
Well, I mean, that's why we do it, right? I mean, we do it because that's the best place for it to happen if it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have a mistake, have it happen there, not when you don't want it to.
Absolutely.
Another consideration that was brought up in the class, you brought up in the class, is you actually shared a video, and it was some people reacting to a bad guy, and that one of them projected very clearly that they, you CC because you don't want people to know. Mm-hmm. It's lack of knowledge, but he obviously projected that he had something, and the bad guy saw it happening, and he didn't even get a chance to get it out of the holster.
Yeah, because he didn't practice, drawing from the holster.
Right.
So again, that all goes back to, if I encourage, I encourage everybody to be a responsibly armed citizen, right? Now, what you arm yourself with is entirely up to you. whether that be deadly force, it could be less lethals, it could be OC spray, whatever it may be. But be a responsibly armed citizen, but practice, train. Especially again, cold weather, things change. You starting to put on some heavier layers. For some of us in the community, that means that we get to wear bigger guns now because it's colder, right? We're wearing bigger layers. Bigger layers mean bigger guns. But if you don't practice, if you don't train, still getting to that tool, then all you're wearing is a shiny, look at me badge or something like that. It's not, you're nixing the point of being a responsibly armed citizen.
And what the ladies wear, that's a whole nother thing. And I appreciate that Apache has ladies with guns, and training specific to that.
Yeah, it's all different, right? So different body styles, different body shapes, different preferences as far as firearms, as less lethals. I mean, there's a lot of things that all go into consideration that people just don't commonly think about. Again, there's a plethora of information out there. I would encourage anyone that's listening, join in on Competency of the Month. You can reach out to us at RAC at ApacheNC.com. That's RAC at ApacheNC.com. Send us your comments. Thoughts, videos. If you have something that you want to share with us, again, feel free. There's we're also encouraging people to come out and seek training. ApacheNC.com. Come out, schedule an hour session, a 2-hour session with our instructors, one of our instructors. You can add a little note there that specify if you want to come work with Derek, come work with Derek. You want to come work with me, whatever it may be, or any of our other qualified instructors. And, we'll go through and we'll start you down that path. I have a feeling we're going to be hearing from Moose a little bit more as we, throughout the weeks. Moose, we really appreciate you coming out and talking. Derek, appreciate you coming. I'm gonna say that was a successful show, and guys, I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate it. Is there any last comments?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's get it done, guys. Be responsible armed citizens. Have a great day.